thanks for staying tuned to Olujoke's channel, right? Yeah, I'm Olujoke on Let's Talk. And I have again with me today, JFK. I'm sure you remember JFK. JFK, the last time we talked, we actually based our discussion on marriage, ultimate death sentence. Yes. And it's something that is depressing. And I believe that the whole world should be able to speak out loud and be able to save so many marriages of people who are going through this. And some of you that are still looking forward and hoping, praying, seriously seeking God's face to actually get married. Wow. Don't be scared. Yeah. If it happens to them that way, it will happen to you this way, like that. So just be hopeful. Thanks, JFK, for coming again.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Yeah.
As we continue in this discussion, marriage, the ultimate death sentence. Now, 4,000 divorce application in FCT Abuja, Nigeria. And some of these marriages are less than a year. Yeah. Now, we are talking about wives killing their husbands. Yeah. And I remember there was a time back in Africa, basically Nigeria, where a lawyer killed her husband, stabbed him.
I remember.
Yes, and there was another one too like that. And now it was, when it first happened, it was strange. Yeah. But now it's a recurrent issue. Yes. And we know of the Miriam Sanders case. And it's even, they're taking the case to the Supreme Court to appeal the death sentence. Yeah. It's appalling though, because like you said the last time, you said there is something that we still did not see or we didn't get, because there's just something that instigates stuff like that. And when you are bottling a lot of things in you and you happen not to say it to anybody, the next thing that comes in is depression. Yes. And depression, anything after depression is suicide. Yeah, it can manifest in any way. Exactly. It's either you kill yourself or you kill somebody. Yeah. In fact, I heard that when you're depressed, there is this person that said there was a time that this suicidal stuff always comes. She will just see somebody, it's a spirit. Yeah. That she will see something with a rope holding, giving you the kind of stand or whatever. Exactly. So if you keep having such a thing, the next thing you just see people do that. We also know of a very strong man of God in this country who killed himself. He has got, I think it was a week before, he went to bury someone who killed himself. And then after, he killed himself. So what's going on? And that, I don't think that one is marriage. Maybe it might or it might not, because we don't know. But in this instance, where marriage is now something that is dreadful, and now we have 4,000 cases just in a country, and maybe just a state.
That's true.
We don't know what's happening somewhere else. And even where we are right now, we know we have a lot. Yeah.
As a lawyer, I can tell you, it's keeping some businesses afloat.
Exactly. It's just, exactly. This is where I see they are now advertising divorce.
$300 for a divorce.
Exactly.
But here's the thing, like, I want to put it this way, because sometimes you might end up just talking about the doom of something and not tempering it with some other information. Okay. My understanding is that for every marriage you see that is getting a divorce, there are couples that are not. So we are in a generation where drama sells. Okay. So the successful marriages, quote unquote, not perfect, but marriages that are doing okay, we don't hear about them.
It's true.
Because there's nothing to report. So in a case like this, no news is good news.
Exactly.
So of the 4,000 divorces that are filed and all that, there's a couple of thousand that are just like still saying honey, sweetie, baby.
Exactly, even at 60.
So, I want to bring that up because last time you mentioned a big point that I was really hoping we'd get to, which is that for those who are looking to get married and stuff like that, I want to just, if I can try to dispel this notion that because, you're seeing all this news about tragedy and all that, that's a reason for you not to venture. We don't apply that concept in everything else in life. A lot of people drop out of college. I still went. My kids hopefully will still go. A lot of people start businesses and fail. Yeah. If you have a business idea, that's not a reason for you not to go for it. What you do is you figure out what everyone else did wrong, if you can avoid it.
Yeah.
and believe in your idea and believe in, and be committed. And, you know, do your research, and as a Christian, you pray for God's help. So I want to just put it out there that, you know, what you're hearing about marriages is not a reason for you not to pursue what will benefit your life, you know. But we do have and we're in an era where everything is more viral. We know more. We hear more now. These divorces we're talking about, I guarantee you there were breakups and unofficial divorces for years in our communities, but they didn't have to go to court for it. There have been women who their husband didn't come home, or they didn't go back home, went to another city, or just mutual arrangements to just branch off. So people found different ways to express this same frustration back in the day. I just believe that now people are more prone to, like, all right, make it official. 1, 2, then we have someone publish that. Now we know about it. You know, so there's a lot of there's a highlight being given to this. Even these cases of the murders, and there are a lot of unsolved murders and homicides and people disappearing that might be linked to the same thing from back in the day, from years ago.
It's true.
But no one knows what happened to that person, so we're going to just not count that as if. So that's what I'm saying. These things have been happening.
It's just not as loud as
social media gives us a big, you know, canvas to see. Oh my goodness!
A whole lot of things.
Not just what's happening in our neighborhood, but the next state. And there was a time you couldn't have a clue what happened in that village or on that street, but everyone's got a camera now. So not to say it's not alarming and it's not bad, but, you know, we're learning more. We know more now, and so I don't personally believe it's just that, oh, it's just happening that much more. That's part of it, but also we're getting to see it quicker.
Yeah, someone said that when some things that, let's say, with the rising issue of coronavirus, the person said it's only the people that died that we hear about, but we don't even hear about those people who survived it.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, the percentage of survival is extremely high, you know. But in fairness to the reporting on that, yeah, I'm going to tell you about the persons who died, because the mere fact that someone is dying from it is a big deal.
Yeah.
So for me, like, that's why I say it's a two-way street. Not to minimize the actual event, but also you do have to put that information together with information.
Just try to balance it.
Yeah, that people survived it. There's a lot more people of all the people who've been affected. The survival rate is extremely high. So, but here's one thing you and I can agree on. How about we don't want any infection at all?
Exactly.
Yeah, don't put me in a position where I have to rely on statistics to believe that I'll survive it. I don't want the infection. Let's get rid of it. So I fight with people who say, "Oh, it's the media just blowing it up." You know what? Thank God for the media. If someone is sneezing or coughing near me, I like to know that there's something going around. I want to be aware.
It's true.
You know, so don't
because you want to be careful.
Oh, come on, I mean, like, we don't solve problems until we know about them. You know, so it's a two-way street. There's media hype, but there's also reality that we have to balance.
So we just have to be careful, right?
Yeah.
Now, there is this question that was asked on social media, and I quote, where did a traditional African woman go to? The woman who cooked, cleaned, took care of the house, and was submissive. And someone replied, the husband killed her.
I mean, that's what you get for asking that kind of question. Yeah. I don't think that's a wise question to ask. I remember my friends asking me, I think it was, I forget what conversation I had, and they said, "Oh, if my wife, you know, I want my wife to cook and to clean and to stay at home and have children." I'm like, that's beautiful. And good luck finding her. And then second of all, if you want to do that, do you have a trust fund?
Exactly.
That you can keep survive. Her so well that she would find no reason to.
Even the woman wouldn't want to.
Well, because and I tell people this: you have a woman is a person with dreams, you know, with ideas, and you're not going to put someone in a position where they can never actualize their dreams and think you're going to be okay. That's number one. Number two is this: the traditional woman disappeared when the traditional man disappeared.
Please explain.
All right. So back in the day when it was like daddy went to work and mommy stayed home, daddy worked hard, brought up enough money, you know.
And they could marry a whole lot of wives.
Even the ones that married a whole lot of wives. Yeah. Well, even those guys, I never envied them because I feel like you're going to be poisoned at some point. I don't know when. one of these women or one of their children will go, because
right?
nobody will be happy with the inheritance arrangement. So I know you're going to die in a weird way. But if you survive it, good luck. Here's the thing. Like women who now go out to work and work same hours or more hours than the husbands, that has changed the arrangement. So you cannot be expecting a woman to play a traditional role when you've added a modern assignment or responsibility to her plate. So the woman who now goes out and works 40 hours a week, 45 hours a week, maybe she's a medical professional, she does overnights. There is no mathematical arrangement where she's also the woman cooking lunch, breakfast, and dinner. So if you don't do that math, then you're not being realistic, and then you get what you deserve and whatever goes wrong with you. So I feel like, you have to look at what's happening. You cannot be expecting a traditional woman. Number two, this idea of that traditional woman, here's where I cause trouble. Many of our mothers and grandmothers who were these traditional women were not happy. That's the thing that people, I think, try to pretend is not underneath the rug. Many women were not happy. But what they did was they sucked it up. And they tried to train their daughters to also just take it. Unfortunately, and fortunately, their daughters have a little more exposure. If you want your daughter to be like you and suck it up, don't let her go to school. Because if she learns and she finds out there's a better life out there, she's not gonna sit down. First of all, second of all, if I'm a daughter and I watch my mom suffer or get abused by my dad, and now that same mom is telling me how she wants me to, no, I saw what happened. I'm not gonna be that girl. So you will have that conflict between what you call the traditional woman. The traditional woman was never happy in many of our homes. And the fact that they suffered in silence does not give us the license to assume on their behalf that it was a good arrangement. And I think what you're finding now, like the more you know, and the wiser you are, the less likely you are to be that woman that suffers in silence.
Wow. That's great. And finally, on this, my social media.
Yes.
My social media information. Is it true that men are the reason 90% of marriages are breaking?
I would say it's not possible to measure that.
How?
It's not a mathematical formula. For a marriage to break, the pieces of that marriage, each of those pieces has to play a part. The same thing so you can't tell me, if a marriage works just because of the man. Because it's never no relationship on earth is like that. Because even if you have a domineering husband, you have a subservient wife. She can be subservient, but it doesn't stop her from being able to, forgive me for always referring to poisoning, it's my hazard of the job. It doesn't stop her from one day getting rid of him, So I think it diminishes the woman to say 90% of the broken marriages are because of the man. It makes the other partner in that scenario look like she has no impact.
So that means
it's
equal.
Both. It's equal, and it's not equal in a 50-50 way, because these things cannot be reduced to mathematical formulas. Human behavior, human emotion, human activity, you can't just put numbers on them. And that's why I think this marriage might break up because this woman is a horrible woman. This marriage might break up because this man is a goat.
I hear a lot of guys talk to me and say, well, this is what I'm going through. My wife is this, my wife is that. And I wonder, okay, if you feel this lady that is called your friend is kind of better than the woman you have at home, then what happens if you happen to marry her? That means you'll be saying the same thing, because all women basically have this tendency of being a woman at some point, even if the man is 100 years older, the woman aspect will surely be there. And a man also, despite the fact that a woman is supposed to submit, the man's ego will also talk. So now, if you feel, and some people will tell you, if I knew you were there, I wouldn't have married, I would have, I hear that a lot from people, and some people, even the movies we watch. Were you blind?
Yeah, but it's all, I hate to simplify things, but it's all a ruse. I think what it deals with is the fact that as human beings, we're insatiable. We just cannot be satisfied. And that's why there are biblical injunctions that tell you, be thou contented, or be contented. When the God says, do not covet, you know, your neighbor's wife and this like that, it's an effort it's to fight your natural tendency to do those things. Thou shalt not kill, because I know you guys. Yeah. When you get angry, you will want to kill. Thou shalt not steal, because you're never satisfied with what you have. You always want. So those are natural tendencies, and everything else we say is to give us an excuse for those failings, because we all know that there's a good chance that the friend that you love now
might be the same
thing. There's a good chance, because first of all, you're experiencing only a part of her.
Exactly.
What you have with your wife at home is that you're experiencing all of your life.
Yeah.
And the good, the bad, the things that confuse you.
Because those are the things you also saw in her before you said, okay, you're going to settle down with this woman. I mean,
she was that friend first.
Exactly.
You know, and I think that part of it also is like, have you worked on you? You know, if people try to project their insecurities onto others. Yeah. So if I come home and I say, oh, my wife is this and that, like, oh yeah, and you're just a saint, bro? Like, you're just perfect? Or is it something you're doing that's triggering something in her? Because if your wife is changing towards you, what did you change? You know, exactly. And vice versa. You know, for women too, I say, look, you're not. I mean, I could be the kind of husband where I'm not the kind of guy. Personally, I'm not the kind of guy that will say, oh, I'm the man of this house and this and that. Now, I believe that I should command that by what I do. If I do things that seem like the man of the house, I suspect that it's going to be like, all right, everybody knows this dude is handling his business. If I have to announce it, I'm struggling.
Exactly.
You know? So, and I feel like
you have to earn it.
Yeah, I'm like, women too have to like pay attention to that too. Like, you're not going to crush me in any way and expect the best of me. You're not going to crush my ego and think that that's going to go unnoticed. Like, even if your husband is a quiet kind of guy, he quietly deserves and, well, he wants respect. You know, so being careful not to crush your husband is not a matter, it's not a massaging his ego. It's about, first of all, don't crush anyone. Don't crush the guys at your job. Don't crush the girls at your job. Be the
and
kind
some men think every woman is their wife. Yeah, so they feel they can talk to anyone.
Which is why it's funny to watch those men, you know, get insulted by the one woman who's like, "Who do you think you are?"
Exactly.
You know, they get their comeuppance. It's like, I think fundamentally, treating people well has to be a starting point. Just like treating people well, if that's your motto, if that's your lifestyle, I think you have a shot of not only having decent marital relationships, also friendships and business relationships. I've been in business as an attorney. I've been in a business deal real estate deals where I've had to be the one in the middle of all the parties to call everyone when we get to a point where there's dispute and discord, and just call everyone and remind them, we're working towards a goal. If this transaction goes well, you get paid, I get paid. This homeowner gets a new house. This homeowner gets to sell the house, buy a new one. So for the sake of that arrangement, whatever this dispute is, let's consider it very small. So I come at that because of that mindset of, I want to try and treat everybody in this thing well. Well enough that at the end of the day, we can all walk away and still have relationships. So I think that's part of it too. Like, I just want to throw this out there. You got to love the one you're with. You got to just care about them. You have to have compassion. Just human compassion.
Passionate about it.
Yeah, it's like how, like someone, I hate to make this over, I end up giving examples, but at home, when my wife is working late, or I do dishes. Even if she's not working late, I do dishes. It's a selfish reason. Usually I know that if I can do the dishes, I can clean the house or whatever, if I have the chance, if I'm home early. I know when she walks in and she doesn't have to do those things, me and her are going to be chilling. You know? She'll have time for me, man. We can watch a movie. I want that. So because I want that outcome later, I'm going to do this now. It's not a question of, that's a woman's job. Like, let me decide what that is for my situation. Because I do not want an angry woman. I don't want a tired woman. I don't want an upset woman. And also compassion. I don't want to watch the person I'm with suffering. And I'm hoping that she has the same feeling towards me. Like, I don't want you to suffer. So that's why we cover each other.
Yeah.
Because the idea of you suffering while you're with me is not a thing. And that's why I get upset. I MC weddings, but I hear stories about engagement. I get upset when parents of, for instance, the bride we have this traditional thing where they refer to the marital home as a place of suffering.
Yeah,
they tell the wife, you're getting married, though. It's a school, though. You know, you will suffer, but just be married. It's like, for me, it's a bad reflection on the dude.
I think so, yeah.
If I'm the dude that she's married, don't tell her I'm a monster. Like, yo, I love the lady.
Maybe they just want to prepare her mind that everything cannot be the way you picture, picture perfect marriage.
Then say
or
that.
the movie marriage.
Say just that. Do not give me this general picture like this place you are going is hell.
Okay.
You know, and they've been doing it so much that we have a generation coming that doesn't want to marry. Young people are just like, okay, it looks like this is just stress, right? You're telling me to get ready to go suffer, you know. Some other people are telling me that, you know, when I get there, I should forget about my personality. Someone else is telling me that I'm only good for having children. Like, you know what? I'm just skip all that and not marry.
And just have children.
If I don't marry, we don't get to have this conversation, you know. And again, with the violence, if all I see is that people are killing themselves, like, oh, we can avoid all that. How about we don't marry?
Let's just be...
I mean, I can't die. I mean, if you're saying that I'm going to die if I get married, then if I'm not married, I prolong my chances of living.
It's true.
You know, so, but you can only change that narrative if you highlight the positives and you let people kind of figure out themselves that it's not, and I say that it's not a question of marriage being the reason why people are dying. It's just a marriage, unfortunately, creates an atmosphere. It does.
Well, this is wonderful. Thank you so much for being part of this show, and thank you so much for all that you have said. And I believe that you out there, you've been able to get some things. Marriage is beautiful. Marriage is exceptional. Don't be scared of getting into it. And those of you who already are in, make sure you do everything possible to make it work. Until next time, I remain Ulujoke. Thanks again, GFP, for coming.